Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deb Coviello, founder of Illumination Partners, and I welcome you to Live Talk Media, where my special guest today is Rochelle Smith, who is the founder and CEO of the Daily Social Club and a guest on my podcast, episode 118. So you don't want to miss that. Rochelle, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Deb. Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah. And so thank you so much. So people may not know this, but Rochelle is in the state of New Jersey, and I'm also a Jersey girl. So I'm always curious about what's going on. How are things? How's the weather over there right now?
The weather is surprisingly cool for this time in May,
Mhm.
but sunny and beautiful otherwise.
Yeah, same here in Ohio. We are enjoying a fabulous spring. So often it'll be a couple weeks of spring and then it goes to, I don't know, mosquitoes and humidity. So no different than New Jersey. But anyway, I just want to thank you for being with me this week. This week's theme starts tying in the CEO's Compass, the book that's coming out real soon. And there's a couple themes that are really important that are bubbling up from a conversation that I had with Rochelle, as well as Trey Williams, who is also a podcast guest this week, where we talk about the critical skills that people need to be able to pivot and also be an entrepreneur. It's so different than your traditional career path. And so I really wanted to bring Rochelle on today just to share a little bit about her story as an entrepreneur and some recent events, because those characteristics are so important. So whether you're a CEO or a mid-career professional or an emerging leader, there's some great lessons to be learned here. So, Rochelle, I would love for you to share a little bit about your business model and what you do and the clients you serve and what happened during the pandemic and how did you have to pivot?
Sure, absolutely. Prior to the pandemic, I operated Clarendon Adult Day Center, which is a day program for seniors who are suffering from dementia. And once the pandemic hit, it was, of course, not possible for seniors to attend day programs due to their vulnerability as well as the shutdown. So, in order to continue critical socialization and cognitive programming, along with caregiver support, I created the Daily Social Club, which is a webinar based programming for seniors. And this program enables seniors to connect with each other and, in many cases, avoid the depression and cognitive setbacks that occur with the isolation and sudden change that was brought about by the pandemic.
Yeah, and what was so critical is that that was not your model. Then you had to shut down your operations because of that vulnerability. But then you came forth again, providing value to your clients. So I'm curious, maybe just to share with people, what was the value of this daily social club? What was this program about that, I don't know, maintained the quality of life and being of the people that are your clients?
Well, when people have dementia or any type of cognitive impairment, it's important, or one of the critical things that helps keep their lives together and the lives of the caregiver together are structure and schedule. And when you attend a day program, you get up at a certain time of day, you get dressed, you go to a certain time, and then there's a regular schedule that you enjoy at the program, and you see people that you are familiar with and have good experiences with. Once that shut down, it was pretty much immediate. All right, so there's a lot of confusion in a mind that has cognitive impairment of why are things different, and the explanations don't necessarily stick. So I couldn't bring back the absolute structure that we had, but I could bring back familiar faces, familiar activities, lack of social isolation. That was really something that leads to depression. Where are my friends? Well, it's a little different. They're on a screen. Some people had to take a little bit more time to acclimate themselves to that. But when they did, it was great. And it was surprising because they took that and kind of made it their own. So there's a new schedule where they can log on at a special time. They will see all of their friends. They will play familiar games. Will have conversation. And that really, really helps to fill in the gaps that we filled in the brick and mortar shop online.
I just love that can-do attitude that you took something that could have been absolutely catastrophic to your business and to your clients and be able to turn it around, that creativity that you needed. And, if I could just share a little story, again, I keep bringing it back to the compass points of like when you're off track, where can you go to get you to true north and peace of mind? And when I had to pivot and I left my corporate job,
Mm,
I had to really dig deep into what was my past, what was I good at, and what was I passionate. And I just knew I wanted to create. And then I realized I needed new people skills in order to create a business versus just practicing my trade. And then really, who did I want to serve? What was my purpose? And I landed on the drop-in CEO brand of I'm here to serve small and medium-sized companies. And so all of those skills are so necessary to an entrepreneur, but also to somebody even in business who just needs to be able to survive, reinvent, pivot, and create value. So your story is so interesting. So as you reflect back of having to make that significant change and provide value, what were those skills that you needed to draw out of yourself? Because you make it look so easy here, but I'm sure it wasn't. So what did you have to draw upon? What were those characteristics?
Well, it certainly was not easy. The first thing was don't panic. The something of this magnitude in nature happened 100 years ago.
Mhm.
So none of us have a model of what to do. I think the first thing was to be quickly and effectively assess the new landscape. Does this landscape present new concrete opportunities for you? Um, does it negate your current business model, or
Mhm.
are you still relevant in some way? And also decide whether or not the change is temporary or permanent. Permanent. Do you have to concentrate on sticking it out, or do you really have to pivot, or do you have a choice? Um, the next thing is to be realistic and objective and
Mhm.
honest with yourself. Does your company have the capability and resources to execute a pivot? You know, does your team possess the skills and motivation to change course? And can you, as the leader, help them to meet that challenge? And do your customers have a real need for this new business model? Is it something that they find valuable? And is it something that they're going to pay for? Um, and then I think the final thing is committing to the strategy. Once you, again, all of this happens so quickly, you don't have the luxury of time of mapping out strategy in a traditional way, of, really taking time to measure your milestones. You got to get it out there very, very quickly, but you have to commit to it, and you have to be a cheerleader to get your team to commit to it and your customers and your clients.
So it's interesting you bring all that up because again, it's a significant change, but every single one of those characteristics that you talk about, being creative, being an entrepreneur, thinking on your feet and making things happen, I kind of think, well, shouldn't that be the way we do business all the time? Are we still relevant? What do we need to change? Are my people prepared for the future state? So what you talk about in a time of crisis and pivoting, I often think, shouldn't we develop those skills for just regular business?
We absolutely should. But, there's so many distractions that come your way. You start off the day, you had a beautiful blog recently, and I was like, preach, sister. You start off the day going according to your strategy and, working on those great ideas that you want to implement, and you get that phone call. And boom, it's a crisis that sucks up 3 days of your time sometimes. So you don't always get to focus on the things that we should be doing. And it's hard also. But things like a pandemic really pull you back to center. Do you have the right resources?
Mm,
Are you still relevant? are you doing the right things? And do you have the commitment from your team? Um, and do you have the commitment still yourself? Are you just going through the motions? So, yes, I absolutely agree with you. These are things we should be doing regularly. And hopefully, everybody's in a good position or in a better position now so that it doesn't take another crisis to get us.
Yeah. These are all fantastic tips. And, we could go on, but I think the message here for people that are, if you've listened, if you join in the follow-up and the recording of this, I think just people should just pause and think about, yeah, we survived. We are surviving this pandemic. Hopefully all of us are faring well. But when we think about what did we have to do during this time and how we felt, I don't think we want to be that uncomfortable again. So it is a really great time to think about, well, if I had to be faced with crisis again, what can I do that's in my control that I can do ahead of time? So if I had to be faced with quick changes, I'm better prepared and perhaps a little bit less stressful, and we still, I don't know, provide the value. So this has been fantastic, Rochelle, and I'm so pleased that shout out to Mike who introduced us. You're a great human entrepreneur, rooted in the same principles as the Drop-In CEO brand. I know people will want to learn more about your services, your offers, your resources, and maybe just to connect with you. You definitely want to connect with Rochelle. She's great to talk with. So how can people maybe learn more about what you do and yourself?
Sure, absolutely. I invite you to visit us on our website, and that is www.dailysocialclub.com. Or please send me an email, and that's Rochelle at Daily Social Club, and it's spelled Rochelle.
All right. Well, fantastic. And for those of you, first of all, definitely connect with Rochelle, learn more about what she does. But I also ask if you've been enjoying live talk media with myself and my guests, I would love for you to visit my website, dropinceo.com, share your email so you can be first and foremost to hear about podcasts that are coming out, as well as the book, The CEO's Compass. And also, please subscribe to the Drop-In CEO podcast, where we bring amazing leaders week after week to elevate your performance and your career. So, Rochelle, thank you. It's been a great pleasure to have you on the show, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you, Deb. It was wonderful seeing you again.